Okay, this is the last match of the evening. We have the quarterfinal 4 coming up now. CarlJr, Spam, Magorian and Toruss will fight it out for 2 spots in the semifinal. The question is who will make it, who is going to make it besides CarlJr, because I think this guy is completely ready. I think he has like every time is top 2 and he also drove great times, but I don't want to jinx it. Of course he's beatable, but he is just a very, very fast player, and I'm looking forward to see him play. Really, those are some great skills. You cannot like think of anyone who has such a great pace on those tracks. And again, here in the warm-up here on the first map on Rafflesia, CarlJr shows us what he's going for. So good luck to the players. Good luck to CarlJr, Magorian, Toruss, and Spam, who will fight out for 2 spots in the semifinals. And yeah, you might wonder how this is working out. We play in cup mode, and cup mode means that we play the 5 maps that are on the map pack, yeah, in its entirety with 1 warm-up and 4 live rounds. And you get, for your respective positions, you get points. You get 10 points for first, 6 for second, 4 for third, and 3 for fourth position. And then you collect those points till the point of 100, and if you have reached or surpass this point limit of 100, you activate the finest mode, and then you have to win 1 more round in order to make it into the semifinals. So good luck to the players. The first map is the longest. Rafflesia 106.19 is the WR by Kerberos, and then Carl is actually on second position, and just behind that we have CarlJr with a 106.26, but I think he has he has beaten this time with a 0.25 4 minutes ago, just in the warm-up. So CarlJr has just casually dropped second WR just before the match has started. So CarlJr is definitely a great, or that was a gamer moment, let's say it like that. So let's take a look who will take it and who will maybe break apart, as we have Toruss, for me the outsider of this match. But he is also very fast, the perch driver. He can make something happen, especially be open for a surprise and also snipe away some 10-pointers or some 6-pointers here, as he gets a great line over the dirt, accumulates a lot of speed, but so did Magorian, Spam and CarlJr. But Toruss with not the best line here afterwards, so he falls down to P number 4. Magorian versus Spam. Magorian not with the best exit speed from the dirt, and he's now down to P3 here, so not great to see from Magorian, the Polish powerhouse. So CarlJr and Spam are in first and second, but will Spam stay out of Magorian? No, he won't. Magorian is sniping the first 6-pointer here. CarlJr wins it with a 106.73, and then Spam and Toruss are behind Magorian. So great first round. CarlJr with a sub 107. And yeah, let's go on to the next one. So 4 rounds on each track. CarlJr is definitely ready. He's ready and has gotten himself the first 10-pointer in this match. Okay, next round is coming up. No one with a mistake thus far. A great line from Toruss, getting a lot of speed here, using every centimeter possible there, and goes up into the lead together with CarlJr. Great lines from all the players here. Spam is a bit behind though. So Spam down to P4, and also not the best exit here. Gets airtime and Spam is dead. So Spam won't play a role in this round. CarlJr, Toruss and Magorian fighting it out for the 10-pointer. CarlJr going so close there to the barrier. How didn't he die? I mean, he is playing with Cam 3, so he might not even know how close that was. But CarlJr is getting the next 10 points to his name. Toruss on second. And that is just a great display of skill. What a time. A 0.55 from CarlJr. That is so fast. Nice time from him. Great to see that. Great time from CarlJr. 20 points for him. And with that, he has a comfortable lead of 10 points already. Okay, next round is again starting very close. Look at that. It's, again, a very, very close fight between the players. We see the first one making a mistake. It was Toruss touching the wall there. So Toruss down to P4 here, losing a lot of speed. Spam, Magorian, and CarlJr, however, are fighting it out here for 10 points. But the question is, will CarlJr still win this round? Or is it Spam denying the first 10-pointer to CarlJr? Or will CarlJr maybe make that first perfect match? This could also be possible. Spam with a great line over the dirt, but CarlJr has a little bit more speed. It's very close between them, but still, Spam has to push it here in order to deny him the victory. 700ths of a second between Spam and CarlJr, and also Magorian is in the mix. But yes, that's the 3 out of 3 for the 2013, 14, and 15 world champion CarlJr. And another sub 107. Spam has to settle on second, Magorian on third, and Toruss on fourth after that mistake. So 30 out of 30 points for CarlJr. Man, this guy is crazy. All right, last round on Rafflesia. It is CarlJr again leading, surprisingly. Yeah, surprisingly he is leading the round. But Spam and Magorian want to have a saying here. Now the reactor boost comes in. You really want to get a tiny zoop there. And all of the 3 top players have gotten it great. Also Toruss, who's a little bit further behind, but he can definitely do some damage here. Spam and CarlJr going so close there to the wall and taking so many risks there. I think CarlJr has the better line here compared to Spam, but Spam is leading here. 33 hundredths of a second between them. Spam with a great line, but CarlJr is still leading here. Great line from CarlJr, and he will win the next round as well. 4 out of 4 from CarlJr, and another 106.53. Spam getting second with a .60. That is a great round. Man. Great fight between them. Really, that was definitely a great round. Imagine getting second with a .60. Wow. CarlJr 40 out of 40 possible points. That is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, the next map is coming up. It is Blue B. It's after the longest map. We have a little bit of a shorter map, but still the difficulty slider has not been dropped down or has not decreased here. This map is also not that easy. I can tell you that. Blue B by Rocat. And I think this is one of the few maps where CarlJr doesn't have the WR. Never mind, that CarlJr has the WR with a 54.268. So great to see that the Canadian player for Team Solary, so the Solary Cup being sponsored by Objective Code and also being organized by Solary, of course. So great to see him having so many good times here, but he is just on another level. I mean, 40 out of 40 points, and then it is not even clear who's getting that second place yet. It's 3 points between second and fourth position. So good luck to the players, and let's see who will make it. If someone can deny CarlJr some 10 points, that will be a game changer. That is a game changer for the players. So good luck. Second map. It's looking really easy for CarlJr. But the question is, can he keep it up here as well? Okay, CarlJr is leading ahead of Magorian, then Spam and Toruss not with the best line here. Magorian going so close there to the wall, but he was able to stay alive. and he is still in the race, but it's so close between them as Magorian not with the best exit speed in this turn. The TMGL drivers are still ahead here. CarlJr and Spam are leading the round and giving the pace, or defining the pace on this one, as Spam is currently leading. Great line here from the Dutch driver, from the 2012 world champion, one of the best players out there as well. He is 0.2 ahead, and he can really beat CarlJr in this round. And with that, getting himself a very important 10-pointer, going so close there, and Spam is taking it with a 54.86. Great time as well from the Dutch driver for Team Alliance. So Spam winning, CarlJr on second, and then Toruss on third, and Magorian gets last position. But yeah, with that, Spam is really boosting up his score there, going up to 29 points. Great and important round for Spam. So 46 points for Carl out of 50 possible. So he's 17 points ahead. Not too bad, not too shabby for the Solary driver, as he is again leading. And look at that, the minus splits here. The minus splits for CarlJr. It just looks so easy for him. It looks so easy for CarlJr. He's 0.3 ahead, but the others are not driving bad. It's just CarlJr being on another level. CarlJr is just such a fast driver. Especially on tech, but also on mixed tire, as you can see here. But Spam coming dangerously closer. Great line here over the ice section. Also accumulates a lot of speed here. Look at this. Spam is coming closer. Only 0.1 of a second. Can he snipe CarlJr in the ending? Is it enough for him? No, it is not. Even though Spam had a great ending there. But still, CarlJr takes it and goes up to 56 points. But also Spam, with a second position, is extending his lead towards the third and fourth seeded player. So that is very important. That is very, very important for him. But yeah, 11 points. Magorian and Toruss, they're not playing bad, but they just don't have a chance against CarlJr and Spam, who are just so they're just so experienced. I mean, Toruss and Magorian as well, but Spam and CarlJr, it's just for them another day at the office, and they're playing so consistent, even though it is CarlJr making his first mistake here, actually. CarlJr making his first mistake, and he's down to P3. So CarlJr, one of the consistent drivers, makes that first mistake on the third round here, and Spam can take himself yet another very important 10-pointer here to his name in the third round of Blue B. And yeah, it's looking good. Only one more turn, and Spam is making it. Great job here. Great job from the Dutch driver. Again, a time over or under 55. Magorian on second, CarlJr on third, and Toruss on P4. And yo, Eric. Hello, Eric. How is it going? Hopefully you are doing fine, mate. Okay, next round. Next round, 60 points for CarlJr. And he can close it out in 11 rounds. He can close it out there. And again, a great start for him. As Toruss had to release though. Toruss had to release, and with that he falls down to P4. Falls down to P4. Magorian with a mistake there, and also with a penalty though. With a penalty though. And also Toruss not with the best speed in this uphill sector. I was thinking that, but that wasn't actually too bad actually. It wasn't too bad. CarlJr and Spam again fighting it out for first. Spam, however, with a great line again, but touches the wall. Had to steer more in there, but also Toruss with a mistake, so Spam still gets himself second position. A very, very needed 6-pointer for him to go up to 51 points. Okay, the next map is coming up. map number 3, a bot by Shamsi, or from Shamsi. And that is the next map. And guys, who has WR in this one? That's right, CarlJr. Who else? A 57.55. So looking forward to see how he will perform. He can close it out here if he wins 4 rounds in a row and then just do it a victory in 12 rounds. This could be possible for him. Spam also with 51 points, 17 points out of Magorian, and then Toruss on P4 with 29 points. So he, or both of them, have to push a little bit more. Good luck on this track. Good luck, good luck. We have one warm-up before we're gonna go live. So gear management is really important, especially in the dirt section that is coming after the three-wheel part. And also the ending. You can definitely mess that one up. It looks so easy, but then you just think about it and you make a mistake. And also the jump beforehand. You want to get a nosedive before the three-wheel part to align your car and get the best speed possible. That is really important. But let's take a look who's gonna make it. Who will win this first round? Will CarlJr get denied? Toruss going for a very outside approach and maintaining a lot of speed, or gathering a lot of speed. So that's how the sausage block works. You can just take a very outside turn and take the best angle possible in there. CarlJr already 0.3 ahead of Spam and Toruss, who are on second and third. Magorian 0.7 away. But yeah, Spam is pushing it. Spam is pushing at great speed and coming dangerously closer here to CarlJr, to the Solary driver. So the both TMGL drivers are declaring the 10-pointer under themselves. Onto each other, whatever. Get the point. And it is Spam taking it here. So Spam getting yet another 10-pointer here. Great to see that, up to 61 points. And CarlJr only with a second position here. Okay, so next round is coming up. Great to see that CarlJr is playing out of his mind also in this round. He had a great start, but a wonky ending section. But what I really have to stress out is the consistency from all the drivers. They're making not that many mistakes in those rounds, and that is just very impressive to see. It is very, very impressive to see, and currently it is CarlJr leading, but Magorian with such a great line. The Polish powerhouse goes into the lead, and now we have a round in our hands here. Second round on a bot. Who's gonna take it though? Who will take this round to his advantage? It is Magorian getting pressurized by Spam, but Magorian will take it here, even though Spam has a bit more speed. But CarlJr will win this round with a 58.20. Then with Magorian in second, Spam on third, and Toruss only 0.6 away in last. So a close round, but Toruss only with 3 points in this round as well. So Toruss really, he's not playing bad, but he cannot match the pace, which is super unfortunate. Alright, next round is coming up. Let's take a look who will take this one home. Is it Toruss now this time? I mean, Toruss has only gotten himself 6 more points than an average last place all the time. And he's only at 36 points in 10 rounds. So that is not a good performance from the Swiss player. But maybe now he can do it. He's on second position, but Spam is just trying to say, yeah, no, you know what? I just want to take that 10-pointer or that 6-pointer and don't go up to 69 points. And also Toruss not with the best line here, so he will not make it happen. Toruss almost with a mistake, had to oversteer though to readjust his line and lost valuable speed with that. So CarlJr will take this round. Spam on second though, and Toruss on third. Magorian after a mistake on fourth, 1.7 seconds behind, and a 58 flat from CarlJr is definitely not a bad time. Okay, so CarlJr with a third place, he would go up into finalist mode. And then he can close it out in a round number 13, the round that is coming up in the next round. So on the next map, I mean. So this is the last round on a bot. Let's see who will take it. Spam, CarlJr, Toruss, and Magorian. Already huge gaps between Spam and CarlJr, who are in first and second, and Toruss and Magorian, who are 0.4 away. But Magorian with a great approach though, but didn't get the nosedive, so he will lose on a lot of speed here. So he is down to P4 with that. Also not the best approach over this dirt wobbly part where you have to lift off to get the best line possible, but this is very risky as Spam gets the first position here. CarlJr gets second, and then we have Toruss on P number 3, but you know, he cannot match the pace from them. He cannot match the pace. 58.90, still a great time. CarlJr on second, activating finalist mode, and Spam up to 81 points. Was that his PB? Okay, interesting actually. Interesting. Alright, so the next map is Wisdom 2. Wisdom 2 is the next map. One of the harder maps, I would say, in this map pack. Especially with all the reactor boosts. And especially this part that comes up now. Not the transition that is Toruss going over, but this part here where you have the reactor boost just beforehand and your car is accelerating, so you don't want to clip the right side of it. And you know, you really need to anticipate how much your car is going to the right if you full steer in there. Let's see what will happen here as Toruss goes for a different line here. That's actually interesting to see. So I think those are linked checkpoints. So you can go for the left here. That is very interesting actually, because on this part you have to go down here, right? But you can also go here, but those checkpoints are probably linked. So this CP is the same as this one, because you know you have two alternative routes, which is really cool actually. Really great map from Clum. Yes, yeah, a lot of thinking went into that, but let's take a look here how CarlJr is doing that. Is CarlJr making it or not? That is the question. His first finals attempt, can he close it out in 13 rounds and will accompany the other players into the semi-final, or will it be someone else to get the 10-pointer here? This part now really important to get a lot of speed here. CarlJr is doing it very nicely, but Spam is leading the round here. Spam is defining the pace or giving the pace in this round. And also CarlJr having a great line here. We have seen the first mistake from Magorian. Toruss is on third position, but Spam is already 0.2 ahead. So he can deny CarlJr the finalist mode or the victory in this round. So Spam definitely with a great performance here. CarlJr risking it and he's dead. So Spam can save it and Spam will take it. Spam will take a 10-pointer. Great to see that. With a 58.33. Not the fastest time that we have seen on Wisdom 2, but yeah, it is enough if everyone makes a mistake. It is enough. So 91 points for Spam, one more victory, and he will also accompany CarlJr to the finalist mode. But still, CarlJr is finalist. You don't need to win the finalist mode to make it happen. And yeah, currently Carl is in the lead. Great to see that. Also a very risky line. Had to oversteer though, and with that, not the best amount of speed. Going for the gram cut even. Man, Carl is going for so many risks actually. So he is in the lead. Spam on second. He's 0.1 away though. He had a great ending section though. He had a good ending here, as you can see. Also coming closer and overtaking CarlJr. So Spam is definitely a surprise to me that he's a contender for Carl and also can have a double final situation against him. That is a great performance from the Dodge driver, and he will do it so indeed. Spam is taking that first position and denying CarlJr. So both of them are apparently in the finalist mode. So great performance from Spam, not gonna lie. Good luck. Great performance from Spam. 57, 53 points for Magorian and Toruss, and then we have Spam and Carl who are in finalist. Wow. But great display of skill from both Spam and CarlJr. You can see how practiced they are. And the question is, who's gonna get the top seed for the semi-final? Will it be Spam or CarlJr? CarlJr in his third finals attempt and Spam on his first one. Maybe he can take the momentum. Toruss dead here. Toruss not gonna make something happen. Spam is slightly leading here with a bit more speed, but not the best approach here. But CarlJr with a mistake. CarlJr stumbling, and Spam could actually win this quarterfinal and get the top seed. This would be the first, not upset, but surprise to me that Spam played so well, but Magorian now on his heels and can deny him. But it looks like that Spam is gonna take it. Also a great line, not going over the penalty dirt here, and Spam is actually taking it in his first finals attempt. What a performance! Wow! Great. That is impressive. So Spam is winning it. And now we have one more spot in the semifinals. Will it be CarlJr? Or Magorian and Toruss denying CarlJr here the victory? This could potentially be possible, but I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it, guys. So let's take a look who will make it. Magorian with a good line here, but Toruss with more speed, and CarlJr actually has made that mistake. CarlJr is 0.2 away, and this is not good for him. This is definitely not good for him, but CarlJr is coming dangerously closer. He's coming dangerously closer towards Toruss here. 0.3 of a second. Let's take a look who will win this round. Toruss, oh, stumbling a bit. CarlJr going for the overtake, but not the best line for CarlJr here. This will be all in the ending. Carl is leading, and he will most likely make it happen. And yes, his fourth finals attempt now is it. CarlJr with a great ending, and he has taken it. CarlJr wins it, and he's also in the semifinal. Wow. GG. Magorian and Toruss, well, I mean, they didn't play bad. They played really well. And it is Spam and CarlJr who have qualified to the next day.